Pops, it really does kill me to do this video. You're literally one of the most wholesome, coolest cartoon characters I've ever come across in my 23 years of watching cartoons. But today,
I'm on that ass.
You already know what time it is. Oh boy, this episode will definitely make you hate Pops, at least for the time being, because let's be honest here, who the could actually hate Pops as a character? But without further ado, let's get into this video. Now this episode kicks off with Pops enjoying his time in the park chasing a butterfly, but he is interrupted by Benson yelling at Mordecai and Rigby about God knows what. Pops then gets mad and walks off. Now next we see Pops drawing a rose and he is interrupted again by Benson yelling at Mordecai and Rigby. Now yes, Pops definitely had a reason to be mad about this because yeah, it was distracting his peace, but Mordecai and Rigby are literally dumbasses. They had tried watering the garden with soda because they were too damn lazy to get the water hose off the shed. Like, come on. Now after this, Pops was chilling in his office playing with his army figurines when he is interrupted yet again by Benson yelling,
"You've got to be kidding me! Give me that! What is this, sandpaper?"
Apparently this time Mordecai dumbass was trying to wax the cart with sandpaper. Like, come on bro, rest in peace to that paint job. Now after this, Pops calls Benson in his office and this part was hella hilarious. Mordecai and Rigby see this and was like,
"Somebody's busted!" Oh, grow up. Busted, Benson, busted!
Too funny, bro.
Now Benson walks in Pop's office and takes a seat. Now Pops tells Benson that he called them in his office about a problem concerning Mordecai and Rigby. Benson was like, "It's already handled, Pops. I told them if they screw up again, they are both fired." Pops was like, I wasn't talking about them. I was actually talking about you. You see, Benson, I want you to stop yelling at Mordecai and Rigby. Now he's asking this man to stop yelling at them, but they are definitely doing yelling worthy things. Like, yeah, don't get to the root of the problem by asking this man why he's yelling. You just tell him to stop. Like, just ignore all the stupid shit Mordecai and Rigby are doing. Now Benson was trying to argue with Pops about this, but Pops puts this man in line, telling him, "I wasn't asking you, I was telling you." Benson then says understood, and when this man walks out of Pop's office, he comes down to find Mordecai and Rigby still not working, and he was tempted to yell, but he had to stop himself before shit got real. This is when they start saying the funniest shit. I mean, this part had me on my laughing and still does.
And like, what is a hose? Hose. Hose. Hose?
They're just trolling Benson, and this man was just about to explode with anger. Rigby then accidentally sprays this man with the water hose, and Benson just couldn't resist himself.
Sorry. Get out of my sight!
This is when Pops walks up and says, "Benson, what did we just talk about? If I catch you yelling at them again, I'll be forced to write you up." And again, Pops is just completely ignoring Mordecai and Rigby slacking off. Now after this, Benson gets on the computer and searches up free anger management tips. He sees a tip about reciting but he was like, how the is that gonna help me? Next, this is when the computer starts running slow and this man Benson gets heated, but he starts reciting and it actually had worked. Benson was surprised also. Now after this, he goes downstairs and finds Mordecai and Rigby just tearing up the living room looking for the keys to the cart. Now Benson wants to yell, of course, but instead he uses his trick that he had just learned. Now while this was working at first, we then see that the guys had left the keys in the cart and some teenagers were about to take it for a spin. Benson sees this and loses it. Now Pops had just so happened to be around the corner and had heard the whole thing. He proceeds to write Benson up, and Benson couldn't believe it. Like, Pops, look at this huge mess that Mordecai and Rigby just made. They also just got the cart stolen. If that's not worthy of getting yelled at, then what is? Now, does Pops ask Benson why he's yelling?
Nope.
He just writes this man up with no disregard for why Benson was even yelling in the first place. Benson says,
What? Pops, you can't take this job away from me. It's all I have.
but Pops didn't care. So if Benson yells at the guys again, Pops will literally fire him. For what exactly, Pops? Doing his job? Yeah. Now Benson was heated, my G, and Skips had walked in and looked at this man like, geez, Benson, you should eat a sneaker. You're not yourself when you're hungry, my guy. Skips tells this man that he should try counting to 10. Benson turns around like, Skips was like, yeah, better make it 100, my guy. This was absolutely hilarious. So Benson takes his advice and had also went for a walk to calm his anger. Now as Benson is counting, he comes across Mordecai and Rigby playing in paint they were supposed to be using to paint the shed. Now Benson gets mad and starts counting harder and faster. Pause. But as he's doing this, Mordecai and Rigby just think everything is a game and start counting as well, saying, I wonder what's going to happen when he gets to 100. Now as we can see, Benson is heated, my guy, and it's taken everything in this man to not yell. This is when Benson goes to a bookstore and buys a book called Dr. Kimmy. And as he's buying this book, Benson is still mad as shit, and the whole time the cashier is just ignoring this man.
Funny.
He then heads home and plays a cassette tape on how to control your anger. Now this is when things get pretty interesting. This tape had apparently triggered a bad memory from Benson's childhood. Now in Benson's vision, we can clearly see Benson's family having dinner, and everyone seems to be talking loud. Now in the midst of all of this, Benson was trying to get someone to pass him the salt. His dad says,
Look here, son. You're never gonna get anything in this life if you don't yell for it.
This is when Benson yells, and this pretty much sums up why Benson yells.
Crazy, right?
He lacked the respect of his family up until that point. But anyways, Benson is terrified of getting fired and losing everything he has worked for, all because he can't yell at two lazy people, Mordecai and Rigby, all because of Pops. Benson gets so mad thinking about this that he literally starts destroying his apartment. This man has some serious anger built up. But wait, this is about to get real. Benson still had a half day of work left, and at this point Benson is so mad that his body is giving off heat waves. And it is at this time that Mordecai and Rigby decide to do the dumbest shit and crashed the cart because Mordecai had decided it was a good idea to drive blindfolded. Now the anger in Benson has built up to a dangerous level, and these two really weren't helping the situation. This is when things heat up, literally. The gumballs inside of Benson catch flames, and Benson starts giving off really hot energy from all that built up anger. It was literally killing this man not yelling at Mordecai and Rigby. The ground starts disintegrating, and this reminds me of my favorite anime, Dragon Ball Z. Pops and Skips then pulls up, and Skips says he's holding in all his anger. The guys were like, but why would he do that? This is when Pops says,
I told him that if he didn't stop yelling at you two, I would fire him.
Skips was like, Pops, you can't do that. Pops says, but I technically am the boss. Skips then tells him that's not what I mean. You can't just make someone hold in all their anger like that, especially someone like Benson. This is when he turns to the guys and tells them they have to get Benson to yell at them. Now we obviously know Mordecai and Rigby have Hall of Fame badges when it comes to pissing Benson off, so this should be a breeze. They walk up to Benson and start insulting him, and Rigby had even mentioned that it was them who were sending pizzas to his house. Now Benson still didn't yell, and this did nothing but make it worse. they then tell Pops he has to give Benson permission to yell at them. Now Pops sees all of this destruction he has caused and still doesn't want to give Benson permission, saying it's never a reason to yell at anybody. This is when Mordecai says,
Pops, do something!
Now after this, Pops finally gives Benson permission to yell at them, and he absolutely let them have it, my guy. Just take a look at this. Benson had fried their asses, and it was well deserved, if I must say so myself. Now of course we can't hate Pops for too long, because after this he comes up to Benson and was like, that was my bad, Benson. How about I leave park managing to the park manager? Even though I still wish you wouldn't yell at the guy so much. They laugh and Benson tells them to clean this mess up or they're fired. But anyways guys, this episode will make you hate Pops for the time being, and I would definitely like to hear your opinion about this episode in the comments down below. And until next time, peace.